Every work of art starts out as an idea, or as James would put it, a thought baby.
Hey guys, we're here to talk about stuff. Sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's serious. But don't worry about us getting too formal. We're only here to make it normal.
Ladies.
When I create a piece, I start by sketching out my idea several times first. One of my classes assigns projects specifically based on certain units. These units are based on different elements of design, like line, shape, texture, and color. This is the first thing that I made in that class. This was an assignment based on line. This is assembled of different types of line. There's intentional, implied, and in the glasses there's cross-hatching. This project started out as a bunch of sketches. The finished project is a portrait of YouTube celebrity Hank Green of the Vlogbrothers. The photo that I used for the portrait was chosen based on Hank's personality. I wanted to portray him as whimsical. He has a strange expression on his face, and I feel like that is a good way to portray him. This was my first sketch. It's not how it ended up. This one is my second sketch. This is my third sketch. And finally, this is the fourth sketch, and the one that I ended up going with. I did make some alterations to it. I added more line in the hair, and instead of using stippling on his eyes, I just used directional line. This was a big cutout that I used of it though. We blew it up, and then I put it on the poster board and used it as a stencil, and then filled in the face. The second project was using the negative white space to create an image in our initials. I used my first and last initial, D and S, to create images from classic video games, because those are something that I have a great interest in. I chose a ghost from Pac-Man and the tie from the Donkey Kong games. I had a lot of time picking out the font for the final work. I also had a lot of trouble with making it, because instead of using the negative space in my letters to create an image, I kept creating an image out of the actual letters, which was not what was supposed to happen. This was the first one that I drew, and it's clearly not as strong as the final piece. Overall, that is one of my favorite pieces that I've done this semester. Our third project was an unexpected texture. Immediately, because I play two different instruments, the guitar and the ukulele, I thought of a furry stringed instrument. Using different shades of gray pencil, I drew a ukulele with light shining down on it to portray different shades of light. This is the picture I used. It's not the same as the final product, but I felt that it would be better to base this shape of it off of my own ukulele. And this was my first drawing of it. These are my little fur swatches. I drew different types of fur to try to figure out which one that I wanted to use on the ukulele. My fourth project was a self-portrait made out of hole punches. If I added up all the time that I spent on this, it would probably be more than, I want to say, 3 days. When working on this, all I did was sit and glue pieces of paper in the shape of my face and my arm and my hair. When I started out, I had a basic form of my face. When I started, I put a picture of myself on a window and traced the shapes that the shadow made. This way, I had more abstract shapes. I used that tracing to make different designs for the final project. This is the first one that I colored in. I wanted to use warmer colors because they resembled skin tone the most, but I was just thinking a little bit too inside the box for that. So I made one that was monochromatic, and I ended up really, really liking it. And then this one, they made us experiment with different types of color schemes. So I also have one that's tetradic, and it's really weird looking, and I would not keep that one. This one I also really liked. So what I ended up doing was combining these two and turning them into this. This one is just an inverse of this one. It was just to see how it would look inversed. Instead of putting hole punches for the background and my shirt, I felt that it would create a better contrast if I just did flat colors. I also did the same thing for my glasses. For the hole punches themselves, I had to buy 3 different packs of cardstock just to get all of the colors that I needed to put together to work. When gluing down the pieces, I used matte medium, which is a really good glue if you want something transparent, and you have to, it's very thin, so you'd have to pint it on. When gluing these down, everything that I glued that was my skin, I did in an orderly fashion, because skin is still and it doesn't move, and I wanted to portray that. So with the hair, I placed the dots randomly, because my hair is, you can't tell, but it's naturally curly, and hair is something that moves, and I wanted to portray that. Another project that we did is we created bookmarks for the Courtright Memorial Library, which is the library that's on my campus. With this, we had artistic freedom, and it was suggested that we experiment with different mediums that we may have not used before. This is my final bookmark. It's a collage of eyes and a little book collage in the corner. Believe it or not, all of the eyes in that bookmark were taken from Vogue magazines. For the little book, I used a science magazine. My favorite of all the phrases that I chose to put on this bookmark was, "I don't rattle, kid." When we were assigned this project, I immediately thought of eyes because reading is a visual experience. And then I had the literal book. So this was the bookmark, when I glued on all the eyes. And this is my little bookmark. And I scanned it all into Photoshop and then photoshopped it together and put text over it saying what it was and putting my name on it. Our final project was to create book covers. Being the huge procrastinator that I am, I didn't even assemble the final idea until maybe a couple of days before we started using Photoshop. The pictures that I used were all taken when I was 15 years old. I'm now 20. I feel like the way that the pictures are faded gives them a more nostalgic feel. That, and I couldn't scan them in at high enough resolution for them to look like normal pictures. And then I have one that's from a completely different class, but it's this picture of my necklace. It's basically just like a transfer, but I think it's really cool. I might give this to my grandmother or frame it and keep it for myself. Well, I think that's it for all of my art contributions at the moment. I'm glad that I can add to the arting series that has been established here. But whatever your passion is, whatever you like to do, try to make it normal by keeping it weird. Deuces. Happy holidays, guys.